Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Foodie Friday with Amy. I am here today to show you how to make the easiest salad dressing ever without super shitty ingredients. So if you go to the grocery store, I know we talked about this in just a couple weeks ago in HB Live about the ingredients in salad dressings often suck. A lot of times it's really bad oil that they choose to use in their salad dressing. And by switching that up, you're doing a lot of really good things for your body. Plus, the salad dressings that you make at home can be really easy and super delicious. Also, I'm going to show you today just a couple of my favorite alternatives if you are not using an actual salad dressing that you can put on top of a salad to also make it taste delicious and maybe just spice it up without actually putting in the work of making a dressing at home. But I promise these are really easy. I'm going to show you my absolute favorite for fall, which is a honey chili vinaigrette. So it's kind of this like sweet and smoky dressing that I like to put over the top of like a kale salad with some sort of like roasted squash, usually either cranberries or pomegranate seeds or something like that. And then maybe some walnuts or pumpkin seeds. And then I usually will add like a protein on top of the salad or something on the side. But this goes great with something like that because you also have the ingredients that are a little bit sweet and savory as well. So I'm going to show you that one, and then I'll walk you through some of I'll walk you through kind of the basics of salad dressing making in general, and then I'll walk you through that. So the base of your salad dressing is typically always going to be some sort of oil. I am often using olive oil at home. You can use avocado oil, grapeseed oil, flaxseed oil, whatever kind of oil you like. I like olive oil because it's generally a very neutral flavor. Same thing with avocado oil. And so I actually have this delicious olive oil that I got in Greece. Yes, it is infused olive oil with oregano and garlic, and so I am really excited to start using this when I make salad dressings. The great thing, as you can see, look at all that yummy like goodness in the dressing that's just been like soaking up all the flavors. So I'm really excited about that. But so that is going to be one base. The other base is going to be always more acidic. So you're going to have something like a balsamic vinegar, also from Greece, or maybe an apple cider vinegar. You might also use something like a mustard. So I love Dijon mustard in salad dressing. Honey mustard is great. A spicy mustard, something like that. Maybe it's a lemon juice. I also have that as well because I use that for a ton of dressings. So that's typically going to be your second base. Usually you want to balance it out with some other type of flavor. So a lot of times that's a little bit of sweetness. You can do that with a citrus fruit like orange juice. You can do that with like a maple syrup, maybe a honey, something like that. A lot of times if you look at the back of a salad dressing that you get from the store, they're going to be putting sugar into the dressing for sure, which obviously if you're using a honey or maple syrup, it is still sugar, but it's going to be, at least with honey, it's going to be a lot lower on the glycemic index, and it's better for you. Use local honey. It can help you with your seasonal allergies. And obviously this time of year, as our weather is changing, I know a lot of you are experiencing that. So that could be a really good addition to your salad dressings as well. So I do have my New Season's local honey from Oregon, which I am going to include in my dressing that I'm making today. Other things that are pretty much always included in my salad dressings are going to be a little bit of salt and pepper, oftentimes some garlic, and which you can use fresh. If you're making salad dressing, I always encourage you to use fresh herbs if you have them available to you, if you're putting those in there. So like I love using fresh dill, maybe some parsley, maybe a little bit of like cilantro if I'm doing something that's going to be more of a Mexican feel for a dressing. Obviously the dressing won't last for as long if you're using fresh herbs, but it's going to be way more delicious that way. And if you're using it, say, for a week for your meals, maybe you'll use up the dressing by the time the week ends anyway. Typically with like at-home recipes, you're not making as much dressing as like a giant bottle. So I am going to walk you through that delicious sweet and smoky honey chili vinaigrette. And then I'm going to walk you guys through some of my most favorite like alternatives to salad dressing if I'm not using something like this. So say I'm making a salad and I want to put maybe I want to put avocado and nuts on my salad. And so maybe I'm trying to not do as much dietary fat by adding a salad dressing as well. So I might use one of those alternatives to salad dressing to still give my salad a little bit of flavor, but to save on some of the fat. So I can save that for yummy things like avocado and walnuts or something like that. So this dressing is going to be a pretty even distribution of the acidity and the oil. So we're going to use apple cider vinegar for this dressing, and I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of that. And so I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in there, 2 tablespoons. So one thing I really, really love is the salad shaker, like dressing bottles. I also use canning jars all the times for dressings as well. So I'll have like 3 or 4 different dressings made in my fridge often. So then I'm going to use my olive oil, and I'm going to shake this guy up because hopefully I'll get a little bit of that like garlicky goodness that's like chilling at the bottom. But if you're just using a regular olive oil or regular oil, you don't have to necessarily shake it up before you mix the dressing in. But this way I'm going to get maybe a little bit of that oregano and maybe a little bit of that olive oil or that garlic as well. So you're going to do 2 tablespoons of the olive oil. So I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil so far, 2 tablespoons of the apple cider vinegar. And then for sweetness in this recipe, it calls for honey. So I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of honey here. And so this is a little trick. I like to do the olive oil before I do the honey. So that way the olive or the honey does not stick to the measuring spoon. That's just a little hack. Kind of gives you a little bit of like, so you're not like, I don't know, it's not all stuck in there. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I mean, right? Totally, yes. I know I'm talking to myself right now because you aren't here, but I know you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop that in there, and look at how easy that all just slid off of the spoon. It is amazing. That can typically be a huge mess. So the other secret ingredients in this are going to be chili powder and smoked paprika. You use an even amount of both of these things. So I'm going to use it's a small amount actually. It's just 1/4 of a teaspoon. So 1/4 of a teaspoon of chili powder as I pour this literally all over my counter. Don't worry, I'm definitely a messy cook at home. And then I'm also going to use 1/4 teaspoon of my paprika as well. And then I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. So I'm not going to lie, yes, fresh garlic would be amazing. However, I have this in my fridge at all times because it makes my life really easy. So I use the squeezed garlic. I also don't measure this out because I love garlic, and I figure like a little extra is definitely not going to hurt me. So it's supposed to be 1 clove of garlic, but you can do your best estimation. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then you shake it up, and voila, you have a deliciously, again, I'm not measuring the salt and pepper. I do this to taste. So I will just add all this in. And then I'm going to add my lid, make sure that it's all nice and tight, and I'm going to shake this bad boy up. Obviously, with the honey in there, it's going to take a little bit for the vinegar to kind of break that down and mix it up a little bit. So sometimes I'll let it sit. It's starting to mix up a little bit, but it probably needs just a little bit longer to be able to do that. But like I said, this dressing is phenomenal. You can also use maple syrup, which gives it a little bit more of a warmth along with the smokiness, which is also delicious. So that's another great way to mix up this very same salad dressing recipe. Again, I love to do this on a salad with like kale and some squash that's been roasted, some cranberries, maybe a little bit of like something like a quinoa or some sort of grain. And then I usually will add a protein either to the side of that salad or on top, and you have a deliciously wonderful salad dressing that does not have a whole bunch of shit in it. So the other recipe that's super easy would be almost the exact same ingredient combination, but now instead of using apple cider vinegar, you're going to use balsamic vinegar. So equal parts of balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and then I will also usually add a little bit of Dijon mustard, a little bit of salt and pepper. And then sometimes if I want it a little bit sweeter, I will add a little bit of honey to it as well. And then you have a really delicious balsamic, like honey balsamic vinaigrette, which is amazing. And so then if you are kind of like, I don't know how I feel about making dressings at home, some of my most favorite things to do on top of the salad, especially to make my life easy, are gonna be salsa. Oh my God, I always have some sort of salsa or hot sauce that I like to put on my salad. This is one of my favorites right now for if I'm doing like a Mexican salad dressing right here. So, and it is amazing. So, let's see, this is the kind of dressing that we don't necessarily want. It's a light dressing, so it's low in calories, but one of the very first ingredients is soybean or canola oil and maltodextrin. No, don't like it. Don't like the ingredients in this guy. But, so we are going to be doing, so if you're gonna do a Mexican salad, salsa, pico de gallo, hot sauce, whatever you like, that's one of my favorites. This might seem weird, but one of my other favorite things to do is a little bit of coconut aminos. Sounds like a very weird salad dressing. I understand this, but it's a little bit sweet. And I usually just like lightly dress the leaves of the salad before I put all the toppings on it. And I kind of like just toss that in the coconut aminos. And sometimes I'll take the coconut aminos and add just a tiny bit of like a Dijon mustard, maybe a brown mustard, so it gives it a little bit of like sweet and a little bit of like tangy, and it makes it really easy. And I don't necessarily have to make a whole huge thing of dressing, but it's a great salad dressing alternative. The other thing that I like to use is lemon juice. So especially if I'm doing a salad with like some fish on it, this is a really, really simple, like fresh dressing. So I'll just do like a spritz of like lemon juice, maybe a little bit of lime juice, depending on like which salad I'm doing. And it's a super easy alternative as well. So hopefully you can take from this and realize, wow, salad dressing is not super hard. You just need an oil, you need some sort of acidity, and then maybe a little bit of extra oomph to add some flavor or some sweetness, and you can pretty much experiment and even make up some really amazing dressings on your own at home. So if you made this dressing this week for your food prep, please let me know and what you think, or if you made up your own or you love a recipe, share it below, and hopefully we can get some good ideas going for switching out your alternatives to something a little bit better for you. Hope you guys have an awesome Friday, and I will see you next week.